All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Race 1. Nick Sorensen, Dick Jansen have the front row. Wessel Stevens, Janet Gunther on the second row. Ellis Johnson and Rudolph Gunther on the third row. Adam Barker, Mike Marshall on the fourth. Simon Zierk and Rick Kuipers rounding out the top 10. Barry Wehrman starting in 11 next to Jason Starr in 12th. Suleiman Khan in 13th, Roman Berg in 14th, Brandon Banks in 15th, Jonas Frischknecht in 16th, Harry Volsmir in 17th, and Jason Leonard rounding out the 18-car field here this morning. And good morning, G. How are you, buddy? All the drivers get stacked up on the front stretch. Now this track has almost 100 foot of elevation change, and it is not gradual like some tracks. It's all at once. You'll see it during this pace lap, and we will do a few onboards today as well, just to show you how brutal it is. All right, Porsche pace car gonna lead him around. Just a hair over 2.25 miles, 13 turns. Everybody gets gathered back up as they come through the track, and you can already tell this is going to be tricky, but the drivers have said all morning that front end gets light in a lot of different places here. They're going to be fighting for grip all morning long, plus a lot of the drivers saying due to the higher number of left-hand turns here, those right sides are getting warmer, and when they go into right-hand turns, not a lot of grip on the left sides of the cars. Surprised we're not seeing dramatically more tire warming, to be honest. Track temperature currently 79 degrees, air temperature 69, not too terribly bad. That is worth noting. You'll note on the track map that start-finish line almost immediately after they come out of the final turn. Nick Sorensen, the pole sitter, can fire as soon as the pace car hits pit road, and with that uphill start, man, you're probably going to want any advantage you can get today. All right, here they come toward that final turn. Porsche pace car heads to pit road. He is in. Sorensen in control. Up the hill, they fire. They are down and away. The green flag flies. And the first time ever that NSS has been here, what does this first lap look like? Already 3 wide. Ellis is around. Mid-pack, they're scattering. Simon in the wall. Jason Starr got caught up, as well as Barry Wehrman and Adam Barker. And a rough start today. Oh! Wessel, no, Dick Jansen is wide. Simon Zierk and Dick Jansen have both towed to pit road. Lap 1 has been eventful, but not for Sorensen. He now has a big lead over Wessel. Rudolph Gunther now in third, Yannick in fourth, Mike Marshall in fifth. Man, what a wild, wild start to this one. One driver not impacted, Harry Volsmeer. He has managed to fight his way up 9 spots into 8th. Brandon Banks has had a problem behind, as Nick Sorensen crosses the line to lead lap 1. And man, what a wild first lap. We knew all those elevation changes would come into play. Wow. All right, let's see if we can see what all happened and what popped off on that first lap. All right, looking down from the chopper. AC Ellis spins and the stack up begins. Simon into Adam. Barry Wehrman nowhere to go. They all eventually did get back on track. And Dick Jansen, who was battling for second, looked like he just overshot the turn off into the dirt. A moment later, Brandon Banks has a problem. He loses the back end. Jason Leonard back behind. Looks like coming out of the final turn, checks up, but ends up in the side of another car. And Adam Barker coming back into turn 1 just loses rear grip. Man, what an eventful start to race 1. It has been an exciting start to the season with the new tracks this season and some new guys up at the top. Hey, good morning, John. Wessel Stevens now up into second, and Nick had pulled away in the early going, but Wessel has set the fastest lap and is running him down. Rudolph Gunther in third, Yannick Gunther in fourth. Now Harry Volsmeer has the fastest lap and also the biggest mover, up 10 spots. Currently sitting in 7th. I don't think he is done yet. Suleiman Cohen had a rough week last week. He is up 4 spots into 9th. Roman Berg now in 10th as Jason Starr just went off in the dirt. Simon Zierk is back out on track. It looks like Dick Jansen may be out of race 1. Man, what a wild start. We knew this track would put on a show this morning, but who knew how crazy this one would get? Rookie Rick Kuipers now up 5 spots into 5th. Rick is on the move and in a great position. Want to show you guys just what it looks like from the driver's seat out of the final turn and toward the start-finish line. Down the front straightaway toward turn 1. A lot of this track is blind, so blind into turn 1, down to the apex. And starting down this big downhill run, Remember, this is one of the sections where the drivers say that front end is very, very light, not a lot of grip. A lot of drivers talking about having to tap the brakes just to get the nose to settle in and get some grip. Back downhill, another left-hander, more downhill, over 100 foot of elevation change. Most of it that run up the front straightaway as well. And you can see, you can tell the car just feels light through there. Not a lot of grip as you come over the top, back down to the bottom. And down a little more as they head toward that final turn. And back up the hill toward the start-finish line. And back across the start-finish line once again. Rick did that lap in a 119.71. Harry Volsmir has caught up to Rick. Rick is looking fast for a rookie this morning, but about to get a lesson in speed from Harry, who cuts to the inside and powers out in the Mercedes. Man, Harry is on the march today. Nick Sorensen comes into the morning leading the points over Ellis. And Ellis, after his lap 1 incident, all the way back to 7th place. The season started with Ellis and Nick very close in the points, but man, over the course of just a few weeks, Sorensen has started to pull away, but Wessel is now sniffing the back bumper of Nick Sorensen. It is worth noting, Wessel Stevens got a new nickname this week, Sniffin', because he's always sniffing on somebody's back bumper. Sorensen is getting a taste of why he got that nickname now. Harry Volsmir, again, the biggest mover, up 12 spots into 5th. He is closing in on Team Gunther. Yannick currently in 4th, Rudolph in 3rd. You gotta hand it to Rudolph, the oldest member of Team Gunther. Opa has been on the attack all season long. Last season missed out on several races due to travel and struggled getting that travel rig set up, but now he has got everything nailed down. And man, he has been on fire. Roman Berg has promised to be back in the Iceberg lettuce car very soon in that Porsche. He is up 4 spots into 10th, trying to run down Suleiman Khan. Suleiman sadly made the catastrophic decision to drive the Ford this morning, so you never know when that thing's going to spontaneously combust. And Sorensen now has the fastest lap, 118.47. Already into lap traffic after the lap 1 chaos. Worth noting, one of our rookies here this morning, Jonas, this is one of his first ever iRacing events, a little wide, and he picked a challenging track. Watched him in practice. He is going to be one to keep an eye on. Once he gets a better feel for the car and the track, he is going to be fast as this season goes on. Folks, don't forget, a lot more racing to come this week. Tonight, the SMR X Series has the Daytona Duels. 9:30 Eastern. Next week, the Daytona race, the season opener. Home Motorsports is back on Thursday night. C12 Motorsports will start recruitment races in the next couple of weeks. We are just a few weeks away from their 87th season. And WCSTS on Monday are expecting a schedule drop any moment. Brandon Banks has had a problem. There's Brandon. Looks like coming toward turn 1. And the back end just steps out. Goes around through the grass, but does get it going again. We've had a lot of minor off tracks all morning. Oh, Harry's got a problem. Harry's ginormous charge just went out the window. There's Harry Volsmir on the attack on Yannick. Tries to cut to the inside. Gets into Yannick, into the fence. Can't get it gathered up. Back through the grass. Wow, he ended up towing her in. Yannick Gunther also ended up taking the car in as well. He drove it in. Harry had already picked up 12 spots. Was into the top 5. Man, that has got to sting a bit. Ellis Johnson comes into the morning second in points. Has fought his way back up into 4th after his problems in the early going. Rick Wipers on the attack as well. Rick up now 5 spots into 5th. Another rookie to watch. And man, you can tell, looking at that McLaren, it is one of the lighter cars out here. And you can really tell when that car starts to lift and shake and drop. There's a few points on this track where it does look like the cars are almost, the nose, almost a foot off the ground as they come over the tops of hills. These guys are fighting for grip all the way around. Roman Berg now up 6 spots into 8th. Suleiman up 6 spots into 7th. Mike Marshall up a couple of spots into 6th. Watch Mike Marshall all season long. He has been so close to victory lane so many times the last couple of seasons at Conliffe Esports Car. It's going to get there very soon. Sorensen still has the lead. Wessel still right there with him. Wessel will have a bit of an advantage on the straightaways, but can he capitalize in the final laps? That Porsche, though, does have a handling advantage. Speaking of handling advantage, we will be posting later. Whoa! We'll be posting later today on our Facebook and Twitter. It appears they have announced the balance of power stats for the 24 hours of Daytona. We'll post that to help you drivers pick which cars to drive. And the Porsche, man, it got nailed. That car is going to be BOP'd back quite a bit. Just goes to tell you just how good that new Porsche really is. Jason Starr now up into 11th. Brandon Banks up 3 spots into 12th. Jason Leonard, we saw him get caught up in that early kerfuffle. He is now at 5 spots into 13th. Harry Volsmir back on track in 14th. Simon Zierk in 15th. Jonas back in 16th. And Jason Starr has had a problem. There's Jason coming downhill through that first sector. The back end just getting light. Steps out a little bit of a drift. Does a 360. No fans were harmed in that spin. A little bit of grass though. Sorensen starting to pull away just a little bit from Wessel. Now about 0.8 of a second. Oh no, Wessel's around out of the final turn. He gets it rolling. Here comes Rudolf Gunther. And that is gonna hurt, but it does give Sorensen some breathing room. Barry Wehrman, Brandon Banks have had a problem. All right, taking a look here first at Wessel, trying to power out of that final turn. Just a little too much power in the back end, steps out. And at roughly the same moment, back behind, Barry Wehrman comes over the top where the car gets incredibly light, goes around, backs it into the fence. And Brandon Banks coming out of that final turn as well. Car gets light, noses it into the fence. And man, what a shakeup late in this one. Sorensen still has the lead. Wessel in second, but Rudolph closing in third. Ellis Johnson in fourth. Rick Kuipers in fifth. Mike Marshall, Suleiman Khan, Roman Berg, Adam Barker, and Yannick Gunther. Whoa, Barker is way wide. Yannick able to slip by and capitalize. Yannick caught up early, as was Barker. Both drivers trying to reclaim some ground here. Wessel still holding on to second. Rudolph about 1.5 seconds behind. Ellis in fourth, just barely holding Rick off in fifth. Nick Sorensen continues his march toward his first NSS title, as we should be seeing the white flag this time. Yep, white flag flown by Barney one more time around for Sorensen, as Barker has had a problem. There's Adam back behind, coming down the hill, battling with Yannick, and the Audi just gets light at the bottom. Does quickly recover, but lost a lot of momentum. And it looks like Barker has picked up a black flag. A lot of drivers were worried about the off-tracks, the track limits, and the drive-through penalties. Looks like Barker's going to be the first to collect one. Rudolph Gunther still holding on to third, still closing on Wessel. And out of the final turn, Nick Sorensen continues his championship march. He wins race 1. Wessel holds on to come home in second. Rudolph with the big charge for third. And let's get a word with our top 3, starting with Opa. Rudolph, a heck of a run this morning, a wild start. Really, it paid off for you, but man, a close call.
Yeah, that was a really close call. I don't know whether I crashed into Alice or it was netcode or it was really tough in the first corner, but I made it and I'm happy.
Well, I can't tell you, I don't think you actually got into it. You guys were 3 wide going into turn 1, which is obviously not the best move, and it looked like Ellis just lost the back end and lost some grip.
Yeah, I figured out that they both, I think it was Yannick and Alice, broke much too early, so I just gave it a try and it worked. So I had a very good, lucky situation.
And it did look like you guys were very lucky there, as well as the fact that most of the day we've seen it throughout the racing so far, this track with all the elevation changes, you guys are fighting for grip out there.
Oh yeah, the grip was, it's terrible, especially in the Porsche. There's a lot of understeer, so you have to brake a little bit earlier, make sure that you make the corner and don't kill your tires early. If you are too aggressive at the beginning, it will cost you at the end.
Well, it paid off for you in race 1. A heck of a run, man. Congratulations.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it.
Wessel Stevens coming home in second. Wessel, I really thought you had a shot at the win, but coming out of turn 2, or coming out of the final turn rather, a little too hard, really bit you.
Yeah, it was a mistake on my end. So fair play to Nick for winning this race. He was really quick. I'm glad I could learn his lines throughout the race. Not familiar with this track, but feel way more prepared for the coming race.
I have to say, we talk about that Mercedes, not the best handling car, but it seemed to, for the most part, pay off that thing understeers a little bit here today with the elevation change, the lack of grip. At least in that car, you're kind of prepared for it.
Yeah, it exaggerates the oversteer a little bit, of course, with the hot tires, but yeah, it seems doable. Only the last corner, as you could see, it's a bit tricky.
Well, man, a heck of a showing and a heck of a run. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, man.
And our winner, Nick Sorensen. Nick, I don't even know what to say, man. You had the fastest lap of the race. You had Wessel on your bumper for quite a while until a couple laps to go, that final turn. Then it was clean sailing, a little bit of lap traffic, but you made it look kind of easy this morning on what has definitely turned out to be a very technical and tricky track.
Yeah, it is a very technical and tricky track. Like I said before, a lot of practice for this week, being that it's a track that I haven't been to before. But no, don't sell it short. Wessel was on my bumper. I could see it where he was faster, and had he not spun out there, I think he would have applied a lot of pressure that I'd had to deal with.
He was, as they say, sniffing most of the race today.
Yeah, he was definitely quicker in a couple areas that I wasn't, so I was trying to think ahead at what I might do to stop him. But unlucky for him, yeah, he spun out there at the last turn, and then I, just cruised the rest of the way.
Well, you didn't see the chaos early, but now you have to start from 7th place, and that's going to make things a little bit tricky, especially through that first sector, that downhill with the tight turns. things are going to get spicy there. Do you have a plan to get through unscathed?
It's just slow and steady through there. Try not to put myself in a bad spot, and then hopefully over the course of the race make my way through.
Well, it's definitely going to be interesting. I know that first sector kind of reminds me of Interlagos, the way it plays out, and you've always been good there as well. It seems to really fit the car and your driving style this morning.
Yeah, definitely seem to be getting along well this morning. So, hopefully I can just keep it up for the whole second race.
Now, the important question we have to ask you this morning, is the Earth round or flat? Man,
we know what the right answer is.
We definitely do, man. A heck of a run this morning, buddy. Congrats.
All right, thanks.
Nick Sorensen gets the win in race 1, and yeah, it's a long-running joke about the flat Earth thing, but we all know the Earth is round. All right, warm-up almost over. They will go out the top 7. Will invert, putting our winner, Nick Sorensen, back in 7th place. And it looks like a little bit of cloud cover over the track. It has cooled the track down about 4 degrees. The question here is, will we see tire changes, as we see a lot of guys practicing that pit road entry today. Saw a lot of pit road entry practice earlier in the day. It is a tricky entry and exit, so the drivers have to be extraordinarily careful. Buckle up, folks. Race 2 about to pop off. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The top 7 have inverted, putting Sula McCollum and Mike Marshall on the front row. Rick Kuipers and Ellis Johnson on the second row. Rudolph Gunther, Wessel Stevens on the third row. Nick Sorensen starts in 7th after winning race 1 with Yannick Gunther in 8th. Roman Berg and Adam Barker rounding out the top 10. Harry Volsmir starting in 11th, next to Jason Leonard in 12th. Jonas Frischneck Brandon Banks in 13th, Simon Zierk in 14th, Jonas Frischneck in 15th, Jason Starr in 16th, Barry Wehrman and Dick Jansen round out the field. Still have that cloud cover over the track. Track has cooled even further. Now down to 72 degrees. Air temp now down to 67. These cars will run a little bit better. And that cooler track is definitely going to help with grip to a degree. And as we mentioned, a lot of left-handers in this one. Those left side tires do not get the same amount of heat in them. It's going to make things a little bit interesting. It looks like Jason Leonard will start from pit road. Jonas Frischneck, Jason Starr, Barry Wehrman, and Dick Jansen will not start race 2. They did not take the grid. We'll see if any of them start from pit road. Sachsenring has definitely put on a heck of a show so far. Barry Wehrman will start from pit road, starting to see more drivers lining up on pit road for the start. Might be the safe place to be, given the way race 1 started. All right, everybody heads toward that final turn. The Porsche pace car will drop to pit road. As soon as he does, Suleiman can fire. It'll be a drag race toward turn 1. Pace car is in. They have fired. They are down and away, and the green flag flies. Once again, race 2 underway. And wow, look at the spread as they come into turn 1. So far, so good. Everybody makes it through this time. Rick Wipers managing to sneak to the lead very quickly in the McLaren. Jason Leonard, Barry Wehrman have rolled off pit road. Oh, the rookie is wide. Suleiman almost into his bumper, and Ellis is going to sneak by. Rick Wipers up manages to hold him off for the moment. Ellis sneaks it up into second place. Wessel already up to third. Points leader Nick Sorensen is slipping here early. He is back to 10th. And here comes, oh! Wipers a little wide, and here he comes up the hill. Wessel to the lead. Ellis right on him. Wessel pulls off, leading lap 1. Back down into that first sector, down the hill. Turn 1 has not been as bad this time as what we saw in that first race, but we did have some excitement on lap 1. See if we can take a look at 1 or 2 incidents. Looking at Mike Marshall in the Mercedes as he comes back up the hill, just on the power, the back end, steps out through the grass, he loses some ground. Harry Volsmir also getting caught up in that mess. Looking at him from the chopper, gets to the inside on Barker. Gets into the corner, gets into Gunther. Gunther goes wide. And Barry Wehrman back behind, who started from pit road, just overshoots coming down the hill. Jonas, I can't imagine why there is so much gravel on the track already. Has been an eventful start, and we've had a couple more problems, including Rick Wipers. And they were coming down the hill. The leader is sideways. Rick checks up but gets into Ellis. They all three end up in the dirt. Wow. this field has gotten turned upside down a couple of times already. Wessel Stevens, though, still holds the lead even after that drift. Wessel Stevens out front. Rudolph Gunther in second as the fastest lap so far. Harry Volsmere already up 8 spots into third. Mike Marshall in fourth. Nick Sorensen, the points leader, already up to 5th. Really impressive. Sorensen dropped all the way to 11th in the first lap, but has managed to fight his way back. Simon Zierk up 8 spots into 6th. Roman Berg in 7th. Rick Wipers back in 8th. Brandon Banks up into 9th, and Yannick Gunther in 10th. Ellis Johnson slips back to 11th. Suleiman and Cullen in 12th. Barry Wehrman in 13th. Jason Leonard in 14th. And it appears Barker is out already. Well, the first couple of laps got exciting. They'll settle in for a few laps as the clouds shift off and the sun beats back down. Everybody trying to settle into a rhythm. Now Harry in third, trying to reel in the top 2. Nick Sorensen, currently the fastest car on track, in 4th. After that win in race 1, Sorensen extended his lead even further. Ellis Johnson came into the morning second in points. He lost a lot of ground in race 1, and right now, way behind. Rudolph Gunther comes into the morning third in points. He has the fastest lap so far. This could be a good morning for Rudolph if he can keep Sorensen in his mirror. Sorensen about 4.7 seconds out of the lead. Mike Marshall and Simon Zierk right behind. Mike had a great first race. And a great run so far here in race 2. Now remember, they will have to make a stop for fuel. Question is, with these cooler track temps, will we see tire changes? Normally on a track this tight, we might see tire changes, but as we mentioned, more left turns, those right sides getting used up, left sides not as much. Might be a wee bit sketchy to change front tires only. If you're going to stop, you'd be better off taking 4 tires. As we mentioned, a lot of gravel already on the track. Drivers have to be careful not to pick up too much on the tires. That could cause its own set of problems. Nick Sorensen did set the fastest lap so far last time by as he continues to close in on the top 3. Nick less than 2 seconds behind Harry. Harry had that huge charge in race 1 until he had a problem, a big setback, and then came back again. Harry now sits in third, trying to close the gap on Rudolph in second, but has Sorensen closing in. Meanwhile, Wessel out front is pulling away from Rudolph for the moment. Ellis Johnson back in 8th, is closing the gap on Rick Wipers in 7th. Brandon Banks back in 11th, trying to close the gap in on Yannick. Yannick is right on Roman Berg's bumper. This group from 7th to 10th separated by less than 2 seconds at the moment. That McLaren being one of the lightest cars, we mentioned it in race 1, being one of the lightest cars out here, you can really see the effects when we have these major elevation changes. Has not slowed Rick down a bit. He has been able to throw that car through the turns. And doing a pretty good job of it. And Ellis's Lambo appears to be closing in on the McLaren a little wide, throwing a little bit more debris. Meanwhile, out front, Wessel's lead is growing now, 2.4 seconds over Rudolph. Nick Sorensen currently in 4th, 1.1 seconds back in closing. Rudolph Gunther in 2nd at the moment. Now over 3 seconds behind Sorensen, continuing to close. Simon Zierk now up into 5th place. Mike Marshall in 6th, Ellis in 7th. Apparently, some technical difficulties. We're trying to get them resolved. Harry Volsmir still holding on to 3rd, but Sorensen is closing. Simon back in 5th, has put some space between him and Mike Marshall. Ellis Johnson right there on Yannick, and what a move! Ellis able to go way deep through there and take 7th. The rookie Rick Wipers has lost a lot of ground in the last couple of laps, has slipped back into 10th. And Roman just lost a position. Wessel continuing to extend his lead, but Sorensen still the fastest car on track as they come into more lap traffic. at this move. Sorensen up the middle through the lap traffic. Almost takes the spot on Harry as well. Harry definitely knows Sorensen is there now. Sorensen to third. The points leaders march continues. Wessel Stevens out front. This is only Wessel's second race of the season. If he pulls off the win here this morning, it would be a huge points day for him. Harry, after slipping back into fourth, losing ground. Meanwhile, Nick about 2.9 seconds behind Rudolph. Meanwhile, Ellis Johnson continuing to attack is now closing the gap on Mike Marshall. He was almost 8 seconds behind. Now just 6.8 seconds back as Brandon Banks and Barry Wehrman have had a problem. There's Brandon. Overshoots the turn into the gravel. Gets it recovered. Then a few moments later, coming up the hill, the back end just gets light, steps out, and Wehrman had nowhere to go. Banks did end up towing to pit road. Wehrman is still out on track, missing part of the car. Nick Sorensen in third, is closing in on Rudolph Gunther in second. Ellis Johnson now just 5.7 seconds behind Mike Marshall. He continues to close as well. At the moment, though, Simon Zierk, one of the biggest movers on track, up 9 spots into 5th. He is about 6 seconds behind Harry, but he is pulling away from 6th place, Mike Marshall. Suleiman Khan back in 11th, is starting to close in on Roman Berg in 10th. Folks, don't forget you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and YouTube. You can find all the races on YouTube in 4K. This race will be on YouTube later this afternoon at 4K as well. And don't forget, tonight, 9:30 Eastern, we will be back with the SMRX Series Daytona Duels qualifiers. Nick Sorensen continuing to close in. And Sorensen is in for his pit stop. The first driver to come in. Bit of a surprise to see Nick in as early as we have. He has completed his stop. Sorensen back out in 11th. Will that short pit strategy pay off? And what will the leaders do? Wessel continuing to stay out. Rudolph Gunther stays out. Harry Volsmir also going to stay out. And looks like everybody is going to stay out and stretch it, as Ellis is now 3.3 seconds behind Mike Marshall in 5th. Ellis continuing to march forward as well. Roman Berg is in for his stop. Looks like fuel only for the drivers so far. Simon Zierk now in 4th of 10 spots. Trying to close that gap on Harry. Nick Sorensen has moved into 10th. As we should see the bulk of pit stops in the next few laps. And Barry Wehrman has picked up a slowdown. He'll have to burn it off. There it goes. He got it burned coming down the hill. Brandon Banks has had a problem. There's Brandon coming through the turn just a bit wide into the dirt. Then a moment later, coming toward turn 1. Car just unsettles with the elevation change. Suleiman slips by. Wessel continues to lead as he comes through lap traffic. Rudolph in second, 4.8 seconds back. Harry in third, 2.3 seconds back. Nick Sorensen, after completing his stop, now 3.5 seconds behind Suleiman. Nick currently in 10th, waiting for those pit stops to cycle through. Right at the halfway point on this one. And it looks like the leader is going to continue to stay out. Jason Leonard has ducked in. Looks like it'll be fuel only for the Ferrari as well. Wessel's lead continuing to grow over Rudolph. Wessel Stevens did say after race 1 he learned a lot from following Sorensen around. It does appear to ring true as he continues to march away. Meanwhile, Harry Volsmir in third is closing the gap quickly on Rudolph Gunther. Remember, Nick Sorensen did pull that short pit strategy. This is the only one in the top 5 that has been to pit road so far. Yannick Gunther trying to make up some ground, currently in 7th, closing the gap on 6th place Ellis Johnson. Ellis now just over 3 seconds behind Mike Marshall in 5th. Wessel continuing to stay out for the moment. Meanwhile, the battle for second continues to heat up as Harry has caught Rudolph. Simon about 9 seconds behind that battle. If that heats up, no telling what'll happen there. Lap traffic will come into play as well. Nick Sorensen has caught up to Suleiman Khan as Rick Kuipers and Yannick Gunther have gone in. No tires going on the Porsche of Yannick. And looks like fuel only for Rick as well. Surprisingly, we have not seen a tire change yet this morning. Nick still right behind Suleiman, but they did cut through several cars as they came to pit road. Ellis Johnson now in 6th, trying to make up any ground he can. He's 1.5 seconds now behind Mike Marshall. Wessel's lead now almost 8.5 seconds over Rudolph. Rudolph still holds Harry off for the moment. Ellis continuing to close that gap on Mike Marshall, now less than 2 seconds. In fact, at the moment, Ellis, the second fastest car on track. The only driver faster is the leader, Wessel Stevens. And Brandon Banks has had a problem. There's Brandon coming through the turn. The back end just gets light again. Thankfully, a little bit of asphalt runoff saves him from the fence. And the leader is on pit road. Should be a fuel-only stop for Wessel. Harry Volsmeer also coming in. Rudolph Gunther stays out. And it does appear to be fuel-only for Wessel. Fuel only also for Harry. Now we'll find out if Sorensen's strategy pays off as Nick comes up the hill down the front straightaway. Wessel is back out, headed down the hill. Harry has had a problem on pit road. Well, that just shook it up once again in the middle of pit stops. Simon Zierk now sitting in second. Rudolph Gunther is in. Harry is still sitting on pit road. All that ground he had made up is gone. Rudolph hits his stall. Simon stays out, takes the lead. It'll be fuel only for Rudolph as Suleiman has had a problem. Suleiman coming through the turn just a bit wide, right into the tire wall. He gets it back out on track, but man, a lot of debris laid down. And a lot on his tires as he goes around. Simon Zierk continues to stay out and lead. Mike Marshall in second. Wessel Stevens now has third with Sorensen in fourth. Sorensen just 5.3 seconds back. And at the moment, Nick is the faster of the two. Simon Zierk is in. Mike Marshall stays out to take the lead. Wessel now to second. Sorensen in third. Harry Volsmere still on pit road. Barry Wehrman is in. Nick Sorensen now just 4.8 seconds behind Wessel as he continues to close in. definitely working toward that first championship here today. Hey, good morning, Martin. Nick has won at least one race every week of this season. Won race 2 at Miami, race 1 at Adelaide, won race 1 at Imola, race 2 at Adelaide. If he can pull off the win this morning, it'll be his first sweep of the season. And with Ellis slipping back to 7th place, he will extend that points lead dramatically. Came into the morning with a 56-point lead and continuing to extend that lead week in and week out. Rudolf Gunther came into this week 3rd in points, likely to move up into 2nd, but will still be even further behind Sorensen. How have you been, Martin? Rudolf Gunther now takes 2nd from Wessel. Wessel slipping back into 3rd as Rudolf pulls away. We've talked about Sorensen's championship hopes here, but Rudolf Gunther is on a charge as well. Wessel has got a black flag. Looks like Wessel will have to make a drive-through next time by. Meanwhile, Nick Sorensen's lead now 14 seconds over Rudolph. And 6 minutes left. He just has to cruise it, whereas Wessel will come in. Simon 5.6 seconds back, may move up into 3rd. Ellis sitting back in 7th, was gaining ground on Yannick, but Yannick has picked the pace up just a bit. Mike Marshall continues to hold on for a top 5. Worth noting, Mike Marshall was the amateur division champion last season. Currently sits 3rd in amateur points. But today, he will get a big boost there. And it does not look like Wessel came in to serve his penalty. Sorensen as he comes through lap traffic. Manages to avoid it as he comes up the hill out of the final turn. Wow, that got close. Roman Berg was off in the dirt. That's got to make Nick a bit nervous. He's got a 15-second lead. Wessel is in to serve his penalty. and Simon Zierk to third. Nick Sorensen, meanwhile, just continuing to dominate the race and the season. Rudolf Gunther in second, Simon in third. Wessel, after his penalty, slips back to fifth, 6 seconds behind Mike Marshall. Rudolph has a good gap in second over Simon in third. Mike Marshall in fourth, about 9 seconds back. Wessel in fifth, about 5.7 seconds back. He is closing in on Mike, but likely not going to have enough time. Yannick in sixth, Ellis in seventh, Rick the rookie in eighth, Roman Berg in ninth, Suleiman Khan in 10th. Mike Marshall having another great run here in fourth. Sorensen continuing to navigate his way through lap traffic. Looks like he will be clear for a while. Wipers about a sector and a half ahead at the moment. Nick may have clean air to the end. As out of the final turn, Nick should get the white flag. He does. One more time around for Nick Sorensen, looking for his first sweep of the season. Rudolf Gunther will hold on to second. Simon Zierk in third. And Wessel, after a dominant start, slips back into fifth. Nick is just driving away here this morning. And now here it comes, Nick Sorensen into the final turn, the final time. Nick Sorensen will get his first sweep of the season. Oh, Rudolph, oh, he goes wide through the penultimate turn, but will still hold on to bring it home in second. And Simon Zierk sneaks it up into third. And let's talk to our top three, starting with Simon. Simon, man, all you had to do was smooth and consistent all morning, and it really paid off.
Absolutely. So my first race was really shit. I got the crash in the first lap. My car was damaged. I had to tow to the pits and was then driving in the back. But now the second race, I kept out of all trouble and just drove to the end and ended on the podium. Fantastic.
It definitely was. I'm showing you didn't even have any off tracks in race 2.
I had 3 off tracks at the end of the lap, so the last curb I hit a little bit too wide, so 3 off tracks for me.
Still a very, very good and consistent morning. Exactly what we expect from you, man. A heck of a run. Congratulations.
Thank you, Doc.
Rudolph Gunther coming home in second. Rudolph, another great day overall, man. 2 podiums and some great racing out there and great wreck avoidance as well.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. It was quite amazing. I was wondering what happened with Vessel, because he was so fast and then he disappeared.
He just started having off tracks like crazy, but I don't know what happened, if the tires went or what happened. But yeah, you managed to fly by, and you're having one heck of a season.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with the second place. I think I just managed the race so that I don't overdrive the car and overdrive the tires, and so all in all, I had very steady lap times. So I'm quite happy with this.
Oh man, it was a heck of a run, a heck of a morning, and a heck of a season so far, bud. Congratulations.
Thanks, Doc.
And finally, our winner, the first sweep of the season, Nick Sorensen. Nick, I really questioned that early pit stop, but it really worked out in your favor and your first sweep of the season.
Yeah, nice. That might be the first time I've swept both races. I'm not sure. But yeah, that was a strategy I had in my back pocket, and decided to pull it out there. The other trick with that was I used the right side tires, or I changed the right side tires.
Well, it definitely paid off. I'm really surprised to hear a change to the right side tires, but man, it definitely paid off. You were putting down some really fast laps after your pit stop, and managed to avoid all the chaos and keep it on track for the most part. A heck of a run, and man, what a start to the season.
Yeah, I knew just so many left-hand turns here, wearing out those right sides an extra amount, more than a normal circuit. So I knew I was going to lose a little bit of time with the fresh tires, but my goal was to be, hopefully a second faster than Wessel at the end and be able to catch him. Unfortunately, he got into some incidents, and we didn't see if that strategy would have played out. But really happy to keep it consistent there and take home the win.
Well, man, congratulations! It's been a great first third of the season, and you're way out front now. Congratulations!
All right, thanks a lot, Doug. We'll see you next week.
Wow, what a finish, folks! Don't forget tonight, 9:30 Eastern. The SMRX Series Daytona Duels is back, and a lot more to come this week. Don't forget, Tuesday night, the Unicorn goes to the Mafia. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hope y'all had as much fun as we did. We will see you tonight. Have a good one, y'all.